The Hollywood Exile, top 5 male actors whose bad attitudes ended their careers forever. The lights were never supposed to go out on Charlie Sheen. He was Hollywood royalty, the son of a cinema legend, and for a time the highest paid actor on television, pulling in a staggering $1.8 million per episode for the smash hit sitcom 2.5 Men. His character, Charlie Harper, a hedonistic, perpetually lucky bachelor, was less a performance and more a thinly veiled biography. The line between the art and the artist had blurred to the point of erasure. Then in 2011, the curtain didn't just fall, it was ripped down and set on fire. The world watched a spectacular, public implosion unfold on live television and across the internet. Erratic behavior, bizarre, rambling interviews, and ultimately, a vicious verbal assault on the very man who made him a billionaire, producer Chuck Lorre. Sheen, fueled by what he famously and delusionally called tiger blood and Adonis DNA, went on an all-out, self-destructive rampage. The climax came swiftly and brutally. Warner Bros. And CBS fired him. An unprecedented move that instantly banished the biggest star on TV. This was more than just a firing, it was an exile. Charlie Sheen had proven that no amount of talent, fame, or money could insulate an actor from the consequences of unchecked, toxic behavior. Hollywood's tolerance for the difficult genius had finally hit a limit. Tonight on Behind the Lights, we pull back the curtain on the most toxic patterns of the entertainment industry. This isn't just a list of bad boys. This is an investigation into the 5 male actors whose colossal egos, abusive behavior, and destructive personal lives earned them the ultimate penalty, being functionally shunned by the entire entertainment industry. We'll show you the exact moment the industry drew the line, why the power dynamic shifted, and how the curse of ego ended these careers forever. This is The Hollywood Exile, top 5 male actors whose bad attitudes ended their careers forever. Top 5. Christian Bale. We begin our countdown at number 5 with an actor whose toxic reputation is less about a total career collapse and more about the thin, terrifying line between commitment and cruelty. Christian Bale. Bale is often praised as the ultimate method actor, the chameleon, who drastically transforms his body and mind for every role, delivering intense, undeniable cinematic gold. But the commitment that earns him awards is often the same commitment that has earned him a fearsome reputation as one of the most volatile personalities on a film set. The world got an unfiltered, terrifying glimpse into his process in 2009. The film was Terminator, Salvation, an ambitious and stressful production aiming to reboot the legendary franchise. The set was dark, the pressure was immense, and Bale was deep in character. Everything boiled over into an infamous 4-minute profanity-laced tirade that was secretly recorded and subsequently leaked to the press. Imagine a professional, high-stakes environment where one man's need for artistic perfection erupts into a violent verbal explosion. Bale lost control when director of photography Shane Hurlbut, a non-actor simply doing his job, walked into his line of sight during a pivotal scene. The resulting audio tape is chilling. Bale can be heard screaming, his voice raw with fury, using the F-word 39 times and threatening to tear down the lighting equipment and physically end his professional relationship with Hurlbut. It was not just an outburst, it was a sustained, calculated campaign of professional humiliation. "I want you off the set, you prick," Bale screamed. "I'm going to personally see to it that you're off the set." The shock was immediate. For the public, it was the first time they heard the raw, unedited voice of an actor demanding total subservience to his craft or perhaps his ego. The reaction was brutal and swift, turning Bale from an acclaimed serious actor into a viral meme, a symbol of the spoiled, untouchable celebrity tyrant. While Bale issued a public apology for his unforgivable behavior, claiming he was simply being hyper-focused on the performance, the incident amplified a long-simmering reputation for being difficult. The press had always whispered about his intense nature, but now there was audible proof. His physical transformations are legendary, but they reflect an inner tension. His co-star on I'm Not There, the late Heath Ledger, openly spoke about Bale's intensity, calling him a strange fella. The atmosphere around him is often described as high-strung, demanding, and frequently hostile. In our Behind the Lights archives, we have analyzed dozens of cases of on-set tension, but few involve such a public, audible display of pure rage by an A-list star directed at crew members who historically hold less power. This incident became a massive media blunder that cemented his reputation. Christian Bale's saving grace, and the reason he is at number 5, is that his unparalleled talent and his eventual public apology provided a shield. Unlike the others on this list, he was able to pivot his intensity toward his craft, winning an Oscar for The Fighter shortly thereafter. However, the Terminator tape fundamentally changed the perception of him in Hollywood. Directors and studios now approach him with a clear understanding. Hire Bale, and you are hiring not just an actor, but a finely tuned, extremely volatile machine. While he was not completely exiled, he certainly earned a permanent place on the industry's proceed with extreme caution list. The tape remains a potent reminder that in the close confines of a film set, a bad attitude is not just an inconvenience, it is a professional hazard. Top 4. Bill Murray. If Christian Bale's reputation is built on volatile perfectionism, then our number 4 Bill Murray is defined by a more insidious, long-standing problem. The difficult legend whose playful, eccentric, and beloved public persona masked a pattern of alleged on-set toxicity and inappropriate behavior. For decades, Murray was untouchable, a comedic icon from Saturday Night Live and Ghostbusters whose off-screen antics were celebrated as part of his quirky charm. His difficult behavior was simply dismissed as Bill being Bill. But in the post-Me Too era, the industry finally stopped laughing, leading to a catastrophic and unprecedented professional reckoning. The dam broke in April 2022 on the set of the film Being Mortal. Production was suddenly and indefinitely suspended by the studio, Searchlight Pictures, citing a formal complaint of inappropriate behavior. The details were devastating. Murray, then 72, allegedly straddled and kissed a much younger female production assistant over a bed. Murray claimed he was being jestful and thought his actions were funny. The woman, however, interpreted the act as entirely sexual and was left horrified. She filed a complaint, and a second staffer who witnessed the incident corroborated her story. The incident was the final straw. Murray was forced to pay the woman a $100,000 settlement, and the film was permanently canceled. The financial loss and the public shame were immense, making it one of the most high-profile cancellations in recent Hollywood history. While working on Charlie's Angels, 2000, Lucy Liu recalled a moment when Murray began to hurl insults at her, targeting her directly with unforgivable language while she was doing a scene. Gina Davis described her experience working with Murray on Quick Change 1990, claiming he verbally berated her in front of a massive crew during a wardrobe fitting. For the longest time, the narrative held that Murray was a creative free spirit who simply didn't play by the rules. The industry protected him because his talent and star power were seen as worth the collateral damage. But the cancellation of Being Mortal proved that this protection had expired. The new Hollywood accountability standards meant that the quirky legend defense was no longer viable for workplace harassment. In his own words, Murray admitted, "I did something I thought was funny, and it wasn't taken that way," acknowledging that times and acceptable on-set behavior had changed. Bill Murray's story is a stark warning. Talent does not grant immunity. While he still receives work, the biggest, most sensitive projects are now hesitant to hire him, and his reputation for being difficult has been permanently replaced by the far more damaging label of liability. The incident serves as a crucial turning point, signaling that the industry is no longer willing to bankroll the unpredictable and abusive antics of its aging legends. Top 3. Charlie Sheen. At number 3, we revisit the actor who became the living embodiment of the Hollywood ego machine grinding to a halt, Charlie Sheen. His story is the definitive case study of a celebrity with every possible advantage, talent, lineage, and unparalleled success, who chose the path of total self-immolation, resulting in the most expensive firing in television history. By 2010, Sheen was the undisputed king of TV comedy, making over $1.8 million per episode of 2.5 Men. His private life, however, was a relentless cycle of drug and alcohol abuse, arrests for domestic violence, and chaotic personal relationships. The show's production had been halted multiple times for his trips to rehab, costing the studio millions. The breaking point arrived in early 2011. After another forced production shutdown for his recovery, Sheen went on a relentless, public media blitz that was less an apology and more a delusional manifesto. He began calling himself a warlock and a ninja warrior from Mars, claiming he had tiger blood and Adonis DNA. Crucially, he launched a venomous attack on the show's creator and executive producer, Chuck Lorre, calling him a stupid little man and a clown in a radio interview. This wasn't a private dispute. It was a highly public, multi-platform declaration of war on his own employer. On the 7th of March 2011, Warner Brothers Television and CBS delivered the final verdict. Charlie Sheen's services were terminated immediately. The legal basis was clear. Sheen's conduct amounted to felony offenses involving moral turpitude and dangerously self-destructive conduct, making him impossible to insure and completely unworkable. The consequences were staggering. The 8th season of 2.5 Men was canceled abruptly, and Sheen lost tens of millions of dollars in potential earnings. The firing of the highest-paid actor on television for sheer lack of professionalism was a powerful worldwide media event. Instead of retreating, Sheen famously embraced the role of the exiled martyr, boasting that he would take all of the bazillions and never have to look at Whatchescock again, referring to Laurie. He then took his chaotic act on a failed, booed-out Torpedo of Truth live tour. Charlie Sheen's attitude was not merely difficult, it was toxic and professional suicide. By attacking the producers, the studio, and his co-stars, he shattered the fundamental trust required to make a television show. He became overnight the most radioactive star in Hollywood, a cautionary tale that effectively ended his mainstream film and television career for years. The industry demonstrated that a high-value star could and would be cut off if they prioritized self-destruction over professional stability and basic human decency. Top 2. Steven Seagal. The transition from a professional liability to a complete pariah is often slow and defined by rumor. But for our number 2, Steven Seagal, the downfall was a decades-long erosion of his reputation, ultimately driven by a consistent pattern of alleged sexual predation and physical intimidation that predated and helped define the problems of the Hollywood system. Seagal was a massive 90 seconds action star, yet off-screen, he became a symbol of unchecked ego and a terrifying abuse of power, creating a reign of terror that led Hollywood to simply stop producing his theatrical films. The allegations against him stretch back to the early 1990 seconds and include numerous accusations of sexual harassment, assault, and even rape from multiple women, including high-profile actresses. Juliana Margulies recounted a chilling late-night audition in his hotel room when she was 23, finding no casting director, only Seagal and a large pistol. Jenny McCarthy alleged that during her audition for Under Siege 2, Seagal asked her to undress completely. Portia de Rossi stated that during her final audition, Seagal told her how important it was to have chemistry off-screen before unzipping his leather pants. These incidents illustrate a predatory pattern, luring young, aspiring actresses to isolated locations under the guise of an audition, then using his celebrity and physical size to coerce or intimidate them. While Seagal has consistently denied the allegations, the sheer volume and consistency of the accounts across decades speak volumes. Beyond sexual misconduct, Seagal was notorious for his megalomaniacal behavior and physical aggression on the set itself. John Leguizamo described his experience on Executive Decision 1996, claiming Seagal physically struck him, declaring, "I'm the executive producer and I can have you fired." This combination of professional difficulty and deeply disturbing personal misconduct created an untenable situation. By the late 1990 seconds and early 2000s, Seagal's movies began to skip theatrical releases entirely, moving directly to video DTV. Hollywood had made a financial calculation. His star power was no longer worth the massive liability and the ethical nightmare of putting him on a set with a cast and crew. Steven Seagal's banishment was not the result of one viral moment or a studio firing. It was a slow, deliberate professional starvation. His career was relegated to the obscure, low-budget direct-to-video market, a quiet but absolute exile from the A-list. In the industry's view, he had not only a bad attitude but a dangerous one, making him unfit for the public face of mainstream cinema. Top 1. Kevin Spacey. We have reached the absolute zenith of career self-destruction, a case so severe and immediate that it redefined the concept of Hollywood exile. Kevin Spacey. His downfall was a total, instantaneous erasure from the industry, proving that in the modern era of accountability, not even 2 Academy Awards and a critically acclaimed, globally dominant television series can save you from catastrophic behavioral failure. In October 2017, the carefully constructed facade crumbled. Actor Anthony Rapp came forward, publicly accusing Spacey of making a sexual advance toward him in 1986, when Rapp was just 14 years old. Spacey's response was widely condemned as one of the worst public relations disasters in history. He issued a statement attempting to deflect the gravity of the accusation by using the moment to publicly come out as gay. This was seen by critics as a cynical and opportunistic attempt to conflate his private sexual identity with the serious allegation of misconduct, completely undermining the Me Too movement's focus on abuse of power. The floodgates opened immediately. Dozens of men came forward with similar accusations, alleging a pattern of predatory and inappropriate behavior spanning decades, including multiple crew members from the set of House of Cards. The reaction from the industry was swift and absolute. Spacey's talent was no longer a shield. Netflix made the unprecedented decision to fire the lead of their flagship series, House of Cards. They rewrote the final season entirely to focus on Robin Wright's character, a move that cost them tens of millions of dollars but saved the franchise. Ridley Scott was already finished shooting the film All the Money in the World when the scandal broke. In an act of radical accountability, Scott spent millions of dollars to completely reshoot every single scene involving Spacey, replacing him with actor Christopher Plummer just weeks before the film's premiere. Spacey's performance was excised from the film entirely. This was Hollywood's ultimate form of shunning, digital and physical excision. Spacey did not just lose future jobs, he was actively removed from completed works. The core of Kevin Spacey's career collapse lies not just in the allegations, but in the abuse of his positional power. As the executive producer and star of House of Cards, he allegedly fostered a toxic and unsafe environment. His story represents the industry's zero-tolerance policy against alleged predatory behavior and the most powerful demonstration of the shift in accountability. A swift, brutal, and permanent exile from which he has yet to recover. Conclusion. We have traveled through the most dramatic and destructive celebrity downfalls of the last 2 decades. From the temper of Christian Bale, which nearly cost him his career, to the self-destructive spiral of Charlie Sheen, to the alleged predatory abuse of Steven Seagal and Kevin Spacey, and the decades-delayed reckoning of Bill Murray, these 5 cases illustrate a fundamental truth. The curse of ego is the one role Hollywood will no longer cast. For decades, Hollywood operated under a tacit, toxic contract. If you were talented enough, your bad attitude, volatile temperament, or even your abusive behavior would be tolerated, excused, and protected. But the stories of Charlie Sheen's self-destructive firing, Bill Murray's canceled production, and the total, immediate erasure of Kevin Spacey and Steven Seagal are proof that the leverage has shifted. The rise of social media, the power of collective voices, amplified by movements like Me Too, and the financial liability imposed by zero-tolerance policies, have fundamentally changed the power dynamic. Studios are no longer willing to risk massive financial and reputational damage to protect a difficult star. These actors, by prioritizing their personal whims, their destructive addictions, or their alleged abusive behavior over professional decency and safety, ultimately became the villains of their own stories. They crossed the line from being difficult to being uninsurable and unemployable. What is the long-term lesson from these 5 exiles? It is that accountability has become the baseline standard for employment. Spacey and Seagal's exiling confirms that alleged predatory behavior results in total professional revocation, regardless of past accolades. The light that these stars once basked in has been extinguished, leaving behind only the cold shadow of their decisions. This investigation into the Hollywood exile forces us to question who we celebrate and why. Did they deserve the exile? In the court of public opinion and the new economics of accountability, the answer is a resounding yes. Before you go, let us know in the comments, which actor's downfall do you believe had the most lasting impact on the industry, and why? Thank you for diving deep with us. If you want more investigative journalism like this, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Behind the Lights, and ring the notification bell so you never miss our next deep dive into the shadows of celebrity fame. We'll see you next time.